Hey everybody, this demo is going to show you how to create your second self-portrait, which is going to be representational to create a likeness of you from photographic reference. The first thing to get down is the facial proportions. So take a look at this. You're going to want to mark in the top and the bottom of the head, and the first thing to get in there is the eye line, which is generally around the center of the head, believe it or not. The nose is in between the eye line and the chin, and the bottom of the lips is in between that nose line and the chin. So take a look at this. Take your time studying it. You're going to want to get a photo of yourself. Look for good light and shadow in the photo. You're also going to want to take it pretty straight on so that you get those proportions. Because if you were to take it a little up or down, they would change. So now it's about translating those proportions of the face onto your own photo. You can either do this in your imagination or draw it like I've done on the computer or on your phone, but it's important to mark out that line of symmetry, the eye line, the bottom of the nose, the bottom of the lips, and the chin. On mine, I took it just slightly from beneath, not straight on, so the eye line is just a little bit above the middle. So here I am getting started. I'm just marking off the top and the bottom of my head. I'm using pencil, marking in the eye line, the bottom of the nose, the bottom of the lips, just getting those proportions in really simply, just using line. Here I adjust the light so you can see it a little better. The cool thing about this part is really anyone can do it. You just have to take the photo pretty straight on and then follow the proportions. And once you get those proportions in with line, you can begin filling in the facial features. And getting those proportions right in the first part is really, really important. You'll notice as you go on, you'll be able to shift them a little bit. So I first getting these proportions before I start identifying the outline of the head or the contour of the head. I really just start with those proportion lines. You'll see the corners of the eyes generally meet the outsides of the nostrils. So I just put those lines in too. And I'm drawing in the neckline, and here's where I'm just starting to fill in those features, mostly using contour lines. So at this stage, I'm not thinking about value, light and shadow at all. I'm just trying to get all the features of the face in their correct place. Here I'm looking at that hairline and kind of trying to adjust it, looking at how much above the eyes the hairline falls. Now after I get in the features, you can add things like your glasses if you want. So since I took my photo with the glasses on, I am adding those in. And I do this by, I have the eyes in the right place now because I followed the proportions of the face, and I'm able to see just how far below the glasses fall. And you don't want a floating head, so try to look at how the neck comes out of the head. If you're taking a selfie like this, it's going to be a little hard to get straight on so you see that neck, but look at where the neckline in your photo intersects with the side of the face. And that's how I kind of start getting that down. And here I'm just really redefining all of those elements of the face. And at this stage of your drawing, you can kind of start to assess, am I going in the right direction? Do things need to be changed a little bit? And here's just where I start to add in some value. Notice my hatch marks I'm using with my pencil, and I'm looking for the darkest shapes first. I'm using cross-hatching here, going back in the opposing direction to darken up that right side of the beard. And this is a part where it can be a little scary for people because you're starting to shade in all sorts of parts of your face, but you're not just looking for the dark elements like your hair and your pupils, but where do those shadows fall? So that's going to be kind of all over the face, and I'm using hatching and cross hatching to get this in with my pencil. Um, the top of the lip there is really, really dark, the upper lip, and I'm kind of creating a base dark value over that right side that's in shadow. And then I'm going to go over that base with some cross hatching going in opposing directions to darken up the places that need to be darker. So even on the light side of the face, there are some subtle areas where there's some shadow. And I'm gradually building this up by layers with those hatch marks. So put parallel lines going in one direction that are close together to create value, to give this a sense of light and shadow, but also to create the form of the head. So remember, in Italian, they would call this chiaroscuro, the lightness and darkness. So I'm using value to create the three-dimensionality and the sense of the light on the page. Now that I have a good sense of the beginning of the values, I'm just starting to refine that and darken up some of those areas. And this is the part where it gets kind of fun, but also tricky because everything's relative. You want each value to relate to the others in your drawing to create that sense of light. Still using hatching and cross hatching. And just darkening up all of those really dark elements to have everything relate in the right way to create the level of contrast that I'm looking for in my drawing. And here I'm just continuing to build up those layers of hatching and cross hatching to have more variation in the value, deepen up some of those darker values, and try to continue to bring out the forms of the face, following my photo as a reference point. It might even help you to put your photograph in black and white so you can see the values a lot more literally, and you'll be able to translate them into your black and white drawing a little easier. And in your drawings, you're welcome to kind of blend these hatching marks together if you want, but I like leaving them showing, and I think that if you build them up enough, they can really work when leaving all the lines apparent. Getting in the shadow of the neck there, not neglecting any areas. And here I'm going into my negative space. You'll see this is a pretty important part of the drawing. The negative space and positive space relate to one another, so this is what gives my drawing a sense of unity and cohesiveness, making it feel like my head is really in that space. It's not just a drawing on a page anymore. It begins to exist in a different space after I add in those those values in the negative space or background. And I'll tell you a little trick that I used. On the left side of the face where there's a lot more light, I made that negative space darker. And on the right side where it's in shadow, I made it a little bit lighter. That's to create more contrast and emphasis on the face. Try it out. It's really cool. So I'm getting towards the end of my little sketch here, and I'm just continuing to refine and build up that contrast and those different values. Last final touches. You can erase those proportion lines if you're still able to see them, but if you draw them light enough and you build up your value enough, they should just kind of disappear. I use my eraser very little, if at all, but you can definitely employ your eraser here to pull out some of those areas of light, especially if you've smeared this around as you're drawing it and as you're building it up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my final demo drawing. I hope this was useful. Don't be scared. Follow those proportions and get going. You can do it.